Hey, everybody. Welcome back to 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers. My days have been filled with beautiful, beautiful conversations with people 3 days ago that I never even knew. It's amazing to me to see how much resonance we have with absolute strangers, people that we never even spoke to, I never even knew they existed. But in just the simple conversation, there's always something that connects us. I don't know if that will be true with my next guest, but I'm basing it on what's happened before, and we're open to whatever happens here. There doesn't have to be a connection with everybody, but I'm so excited to meet along with you, Zoe Stern. Um, Zoe, welcome to 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. I'm excited to be here.
It is such a pleasure. As I said to you in the green room just moments before, I want to ask you to tell us who you are, because I have no idea who you are. The beautiful thing about talking with strangers is I know nothing about you. So please tell everybody who you are, and if you don't mind telling us also what's important to you.
Of course, I am a very adventurous woman turned entrepreneur. I'm a health and fitness coach who needs a much better title than that because I do so much more than that. But I was so interested about coming here and doing this with you because I traveled the world for so long and I've had so many conversations with strangers. And it's been a long time since I've really gotten to have a conversation with a stranger, and I really miss it. It's fun.
I love that. When did you do that? How and what allowed you to do that? How did that come about happening?
I moved to Mexico when I was 18 years old. That was the start. And I had been there on a couple of 2 week vacations. And on the last one, I said, I'm sick of this. At the end of 2 weeks, I don't want to go home. I'm just getting comfortable again. So I said, this was January of whatever year it was. And I said, I'm going to move here. I went
Wow.
home. I still lived at home. And I said to my parents, I'm moving to Mexico in the fall and I'll take Spanish in school. And they said, what do you want from us? I said, nothing. I'm going to pay my whole way. And I'm just telling you. I'm not asking, I'm telling. And they said, okay.
Wow.
They, that's it. So what started as just a trip to Mexico to move, I bought a one-way ticket. I packed one bag. I ended up doing 3 years of world travel throughout Mexico, Central America, Southeast Asia. I spent a year in Australia, and it was incredible.
Wow. Wow. I love that. When I turned 18, I had already finished 2 years of college,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at getting a degree in psychology where I had already taken all of the undergraduate prerequisites for my psychology degree. And so I would have had to spend 2 years just taking filler courses to get a diploma. And psychology wasn't what I was going to do anyway. So I decided to drop out of college and put my thumb out on the road. And this was a lot of years ago. This is when I was 18. I'm 63 now, so it was 45 years ago. And it was a little bit safer then. And I'm a guy and you're a girl, but you still did it as a girl. You still did it, and through Central America and through Asia, and and so I love that spirit of what happens when we just say goodbye to the life that we know for a little while, and and walk into a life full of uncertainty and full of beauty. And some of the memories that I have, like I remember being on a moped driving through Greece, an island of Greece. And I remember the old ladies with the little babushka ladies with their aprons on, picking olives, and they were waving me down and stopping me along, and they came running with their babushkas full of olives. And we sat by the side of the road. We couldn't understand a word each other was saying, but we sat olives, and they brought cheese and bread, and we sat by the roadside. One of the most beautiful moments. That was 45 years ago. I remember it as if they're sitting with me today.
It's amazing.
So tell me one of the experiences you had on your trip that you haven't forgotten.
I'm going to start with one thing because this is crazy and you don't know this part. I left high school at 16 and did a dual enrollment program at college. So I
Wow.
started college. By the time I was 18, I had about a year of college finished. So it was funny that you were also on that same side of.
Yes.
I was also interested in psychology, so we have like a lot of similarities. I never went that route, obviously, but I kind of did because coaching is so much psychology work.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's that. There's so many amazing things, but one of the things that really stood out when I was traveling, well, other than the fact that I randomly met this girl when I was down in Mexico and joined her road trip to Central America. On this trip, we met another woman who used to work on some big TV show. I don't remember what it was, but it was some like reality TV show where they had games and challenges and whatnot. And whenever she would go to Mexico, she would bring stuff for the kids. And she didn't really have a specific town, but she would somewhere, wherever she felt like it. Usually it was more school supplies and paper and whatever things. But they had just wrapped up filming the show and they had a whole bunch of volleyballs, like super nice Wilson volleyballs used for the show. They were painted different colors. And she said to the producer, "What are you going to do with those?" And they're like, "I don't know. Do you want them?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to take them to Mexico." So she deflates all these volleyballs. She flies in Mexico. I mean, there was 20 plus, I don't know, a ton of them.
Wow. Wow.
And she had them, this is crazy. We didn't know. She had them in the trunk of her car. Like, we just go to this surf spot with her. We have no idea. And I guess she had driven and we're coming back through this little town and there are 2 or 3 kids on a basketball court. They don't have a basketball. They have one broom. I think that was it. They had a broom they were playing with. That was all. Nothing else. And she said, "Hold on, like let's stop. I'll have something for these kids." There's not many people out in this town. It's very small. And we get out and she's by this point blown all the balls back up, right?
Right.
And they all have like different color paint chips still on them from when the paint rubbed off. And we get out and we get these balls out and we give them, there's like 3 kids on there. So we each give one a ball. Suddenly like this town comes alive. Like people keep coming out of the woodwork. They're like, where do you guys, they're not on their phones, you know? Like
Right.
somebody sees, like there's nobody calling anybody. And so we decided, okay, 1 ball per family. Your siblings, okay, you get 1 ball. You get 1 ball, right? And suddenly this court is filled with kids playing with these balls and the look on their faces, they're trading the different colors. And we had 1 pump, so we gave it to some of the parents that were around. You guys keep the pump. And it was just cool to see this town of like 2, 3 sad kids playing with a broom. They're having all these super nice high-end volleyballs. And
Wow.
it was one of the coolest things. Super random. I didn't know she had these volleyballs in her car. You know, I didn't know we were about to do this. It was amazing. It was so cool.
I love stories like that because of how simple things can be. Like they're nice volleyballs, but it's not like you're bringing them cars. You know, it's not like you're bringing them motorbikes. You're bringing them volleyballs, and just the simple joy of what it's like to give something to somebody who doesn't have the capability of getting that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and how beautiful a story. So, tell me a little bit about what makes you happy.
Well, I value happiness above everything else. Everything else. So money, everything, I don't care. Like if I'm not happy, nothing else matters. So what makes me happy is just making sure that I keep that in the forefront. Um, Always doing what I want to be doing and only doing things that I don't really want to be doing for a short period of time if I know they're going to push me to where I want to be. But I know that they have an end date, and maybe not specifically what it is, but I'll only enter into something I don't like if I see it like just ending. I don't know, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But the moment I feel like it's no longer serving me in where I want to go, I get rid of it. Or I start planning on how I can get rid of it. And I think that's super important. You know, I see people getting trapped in, it could be anything, you know, a job, a relationship, a house, whatever, that is just terrible. And I've never let that happen to me. My shortest job was 6 hours long. I did 1 shift and I said, this isn't for me. And I let them know. I was only like 16, 17. And I said, this isn't for me. And they were like, wow, we appreciate you. Most people your age would just not come back ever. I
Yeah.
called, and so just having been able to do that. I'm only 29, and to be able to have that value, I've had it for a long time now.
Yes.
Huge, and it didn't take me forever to learn that. It's just been me, probably since 16, since I left my high school, and I've always been looking for that better way, that happier way.
So, what a beautiful way to live life, because as you say, so many people start out that way, but then get trapped by the things that they're doing, and whether it's because they need the money or they need the approval, or they find the guy that they're going to be with or the girl that they're going to be with, and they think that it will be okay maybe down the line once they have kids, or and they write all these things that they make up around themselves that say, well, it will be better when and if. So many people I know say it'll be better when, or if this happens, it will be better. And it's, where did you get the courage to own that place where happiness became your single most priority?
I don't even know. I mean, I guess my mom said since I was a kid, she's like, you've always been you. Like, so much so you've been who you are since you were born, right? I never have been somebody that lets outside things influence me and change me. So maybe that's something, I've never been like, oh, I have to follow these trends, even though I don't like them. I have to look this way. I have to get these grades or whatever it is. I've never let any other influence take a hold of me. So I've always been able to say happiness is number one.
Love that. I so love that. And for those of you who are listening, what would it take for you to put happiness number one? No matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what situation you're in, can you feel how important that is to Zoe? And can you feel how much joy it gives her to have that as her North Star? And when she holds that as her destination, then the roads that she takes are going to take her there, versus another destination that will take you to another place. So I love that you have the courage to do that, and the fortitude and the strength to just maintain that, and just knowing that that's what you're about. Let's go. Let's do something fun, just to move the energy a little bit. Lightning round, okay?
Okay.
Are you a dog person or a cat person?
I'm a dog person.
Okay. Are you coffee person or tea?
Coffee.
All right. Would people say you're an in the box person or an out of the box person?
Oh, they would probably say in, but I think I'm a little bit of both.
Okay, cool. Do you think it's more important for you to speak your truth, or more important for you to hold the space for other people so that you can listen to their truth?
In the business that I'm in, it's important for me to speak my truth in order to allow other people in so they can speak theirs.
Okay, love it. Do you feel like you fit into the world, or have you always felt like you're a little bit different?
Definitely a little bit different.
Fabulous. Would you say you lead your life ruled by your head or by your heart?
My heart.
Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
Leader.
Do you think people are more different than each other, or more the same, more similar to each other?
Most people are more similar.
Love it. And do you have a purpose? Do you believe you have a purpose in this world?
I do.
Do you know what that is? Would you be able to say what that is?
It's an ever-evolving purpose, but it's definitely aligned with my work. And I'm helping people. I'm in fitness and nutrition, but as well as we talked about, it's more of psychology and mindset.
Yeah.
And it's helping people. Majority of times people come to me for weight loss, but that's what they're coming to me for. But that's not just what I'm providing them with.
Yes, of course.
Right? It's so much more mindset work, and my purpose is to break through all the lies and gimmicks in that fitness industry and that health industry, and show people what's true and what's real, and just stop the quick fixes and stop the things people are doing themselves. And that's my purpose, is to just show people what really matters. No crash diets, and I'm just over it.
I love that. I love that. As you can probably tell, people don't come to me to lose weight because they used to but when I was 30 years old, I was running 48 miles a week and bench pressing 345 pounds.
Wow.
And so I was 175 pounds and bench pressing 345. So I was almost doing double my weight. And then I injured myself, and then my body started to act out, and then then it hurt, and then I sidelined, and then very quickly I stopped being able to do the things that I loved doing. And when I got well again, I have muscle memory, but I didn't have muscle strength. And so going back to the gym, one of the hard things for me was realizing, God, I had to go back and basically lift the bar, or lift the bar with a couple quarters on it, or a couple slabs on it. And I thought, God, oh my God, I feel like a little wussy, but I had to remember that what happened is when I started, my friends called me JC Pennies because I could only lift the bar and maybe nickels on it. And over time I developed the 345. So I love the way you're speaking, because those quick fixes really begin fast and end fast. Mm-hmm. If money weren't important to you, would you be doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, because I have girls that have worked with me. Sure, they started off paying me. Great, love it. But now they're no longer working. Like I'm not their coach for, like, they don't pay me, but I still coach them and I still help them. Like, if you've been through because I do online, if you've been in one of my programs, I'll almost just indefinitely leave that open for you so you can keep doing your workouts. No, we're not on constant coaching calls. No, we're not doing all the other stuff. But if you're like, hey, can we do a video call? Yeah, of course we can.
Fabulous.
Like, I'm there. I'm still there for you, even though I'm not getting paid, because that's like, the payment is literally just so you do it. Because all the free stuff exists, but most people don't stick to it because it's free. They don't have any skin in the game. So you're paying to have skin. That's it.
Why do you think people don't do what they know is good for them to do?
Accountability. People have good intentions, but they need guidance. They need accountability. It can be hard to get started, especially if you've never done it. If you don't really know, like, is this going to work? Am I on the right track? I don't really know. So they start for a couple weeks. They're not seeing the quick results, and they give up. I think that's why people don't really do it, because they really just have not enough knowledge, which is okay. But that's why you should seek out advice.
Yeah. We live in a world where we expect things to happen immediately. Mm-hmm. I remember that someone sued McDonald's for them taking over 60 seconds to get a burger. And then McDonald's put a policy in place. This is years and years ago. If we don't deliver the burger in 60 seconds, it's free. And so people think we drive up, we order, we get, and we live in this fast environment that makes us think that everything works that way. But there's a reason why McDonald's can deliver McDonald's in 60 seconds, because you can get something bad for yourself anytime you want in a very short period of time. Right. Do you feel that like, you spoke about listening and you spoke about being able to have your voice. Do you feel that inanimate objects speak to us as well as animate objects? In other words, we all know that people speak to us and we can listen to them. We don't necessarily do that as often as we could. We're not the best listeners, we're better speakers than we are listeners. But I think it's safe to say we believe it's a good idea to listen to people, right? Mm-hmm. Do you believe that the earth is talking to us? Do you believe the environment is talking to us? Do you believe our bodies are speaking to us? Do you believe our businesses are speaking to us?
I mean, I definitely 100% believe your body is speaking to you all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are aware of what
Yeah.
it's saying to you until they've started to make positive changes and they start to see the differences. And I'm not talking about going full blown into like some program, but you make one simple positive change to your health and you're going to feel it. You're going to notice it. And then you're going to realize when it is speaking to you in a bad way or a good way.
Yeah.
And I believe other things can do the same for sure.
So what do you think most people's bodies are saying to them, or what do you think the world in general is saying to people? Do you think there's a message, do you think, with COVID and with the race relationships that are going on and the protests and Me Too movements and just the whole, we've been through quite a few, quite a turmoil of years in the last little bit, right? Do you think the world is trying to say something to us?
Yeah, probably to slow down. You know, people are living super fast, and that's like where the fast food comes in and all that. And it's just take a minute and appreciate like what you have around you.
Yeah.
Even when I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I wish I was here. I wish I had not had things when I say had this, but like in my business, you know, something I would, and I'm like, wait, like, hold up, 6 months ago, look where you were. 3 years ago, look where you were. Like you're on the path that you wanted to be on.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in a steady manner. Like it's not 0 to 100 super fast. And that's why I feel I'll be successful in the long run. And I think the world is just telling us like, slow down. Like even that pandemic, it's like, it's forced the majority of people of sure. Like I've been working, you know, I still been working, other people have been working, but the majority of people probably aren't working. And they now have to slow down and really see like what's important. What are the excuses we've been making? And they're throwing these excuses in your face right now, the world.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't have time for this. Oh, I didn't have time for that. And you suddenly see you have all this time and you realize time was never your excuse.
Yeah.
It was just what it was. Time was your excuse, but it was never the real reason.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something that I just want to highlight, and because I just think it's so interesting, because everything from what I understand about the work you're doing, which I know nothing about except what you just told me, right? But I sort of understand, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, that the whole idea of your work is not a quick fix, that it's not a quick solution, that it's a sustainable solution, that over time you make these changes and over time this is what develops. Am I correct in that?
100%.
Okay. And don't you find it interesting, and this is not at all judgmental or accusatory, it's just interesting, that even you, who knows a sustainable change has to happen, still occasionally looks at your business and says, why don't I have this? Right? Like, what is it about us that knows that it's a slow, gradual process, but we want it today?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
what the heck is that?
but it's the same reason why I have to tell myself, you're like, look in the past. I mean, I'm the same thing with my own workouts, with my own body.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to see changes now. I know they're not going to happen now.
Yeah.
Does it mean I still want to see them, regardless of if I know the truth about what's happening?
Right.
But no, it's just how we are. But at least I have that realization that, and I know that it's not quick. Things take time. I will say I've always been, though, a bit slower than most people when it comes to life. And I'm saying in terms of like technology stuff.
Yeah.
I got my first smartphone 2 years ago.
Wow.
Just maybe 2.5 years ago now. And before that, I had a flip phone.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
And I loved it. It just stopped communicating on the level I needed it to.
Yeah.
For the rest of the world, which is annoying to me. But so I've always been a little bit back in that, which has kept me from trying to expect everything so fast.
Yeah, I love that. In my book, The Mosaic, which is behind me, somewhere over there, I never, right? It's a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So the little boy thinks that it's just like going to get a hot dog or going to get a balloon. He thinks he can find heaven in a store somewhere along the way, and he sets out in search of the place called heaven. But the people he meets are not the saints and the sages and the rabbis and the priests and the ministers and the swamis and the gurus and the coaches. He meets common ordinary people. He meets a road worker and a blind woman and a homeless man and a gardener and a juice man. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people? And then he hears, just sit with them a few minutes and just listen to them and hear what they have to say. And in 100% of the cases, what he realizes is the person he initially sees is not at all the person that they are. Do you see that in life, that the things that we initially see all too often are not at all what they are?
A lot, because you only see your first idea of what that person or who that person is.
Yeah.
And especially if it's just by sight, you just see the image that they're showing you. You don't see the real, you haven't spoken to them yet. You know, you don't know anything about them. So it's all of your judgments, good or bad, regardless. Everybody judges everybody right away, and it's not a bad thing. You know, they're old, they're young, they're this, they're that. Like, it's a judgment, true or false, it doesn't matter. And yeah, you never know who anybody is until you really speak to them. And even then, it takes time to really get to know somebody. Like, yeah. I believe everybody is a little bit weird once you get to know them well enough.
Yeah.
Everybody's levels are different, but everybody's slightly odd in a good way, usually.
Yeah.
Once you know them long enough.
And how comforting that would be for people who feel a little bit weird, who feel like they're the only ones that are a little bit weird and everybody else has it all together.
No, we're all a little weird. It's just, you have to get to know us.
Yeah. And so, and yet, as long as it takes to get somebody, to get really to know somebody, look how far we've come in just the few minutes that we've been talking to each other. And look how many things we shared in common within the first 2 minutes of us speaking.
Yeah.
And I think that there's just this thing that if we're so different from each other, it's going to take us a long time. It's going to take a lot of energy to sort of put out to get to know somebody. But even in short conversations like this, part of the reason I'm having these conversations is because even in short conversations like this, there starts to be a familiarity. There starts to be a harmony of spirit, a harmony of individual, where we start to see, oh gosh, she took psychology too, and she got her, she moved through college in 1 year, and and she traveled around, and she had these experiences, and she did the volleyball thing, and I did the olive thing, and it's a little bit different, but it's, we had that look of excitement on people's faces, and there's so much beauty in that similarity that had we not spent this few minutes together, you would have just been another person that I didn't know in another situation with nothing relatable to me too. And vice versa for me to you. What do you think it would take to get people to just take the risk? Like, how come you took the risk? Like, you didn't know me from Adam. Why did you answer the little post that I put on Facebook?
Because like I said, I think I said in the beginning, I miss doing this with people. I've actually started doing, not exactly this, but I have a handful of girls on Facebook that I've never met in person that I'm starting to consider friends, or becoming that. And we randomly communicate, just like we're friends. Like, hey, how was your weekend? So random, and it's so cool. And I mean, one girl, we ended up meeting for coffee for 4 hours. Wow. And now she's turned into a friend of mine, and we've hung out multiple times, and I consider her a true friend of mine now.
Yes.
And I think people are scared and think it's hard to approach people. And, sure, you might reach out to somebody and they're like, who are you? Like, what's this? But the majority of people are like, what's up?
Yeah.
You know?
I was inspired to do this by someone I'm about to talk to an hour after we get off the phone. I want to have him on my actual podcast. He he had this goal to take 500 people to lunch and just talk to them. And he thought it would be just interesting to take 500 people to lunch and just get to meet 500 people. It took him over 1,000 requests to get 100 people to say to get the first 100 people to go out to lunch with him. And he was paying for their lunch, and he said, I wonder why it is. And so a couple people respond. Most people didn't respond at all, but some people thought they wanted to sell. He was going to sell them something. He was going to try and pick them up. They didn't trust him. They didn't know what, all the things. But the 100 people that responded, he said there was a quality in them that he really started to see, that started to ferment for him. Of these are the people that are the risk takers. These are the people that take chances. These are the people that are open-minded. These are the people. And he said, I really want to be like those people. And he's starting to create sort of this idea of there's something about those people that say yes to odd situations. And I'm seeing it also. I can't tell if it's because the people that respond to me and the way I look and the way I present it are certain people that are open to that, or if I had no picture and nothing like that, would people respond? There's only been one person that responded in a bad way, but everybody else has responded really positively. And so I just wonder what that says about the world that we're living in. Of if we would only reach out and take a step and go beyond, like you did on your trips,
Yeah.
what the result would be and how the world might change.
I've always been about saying yes to things. Like the initial road trip I took, saying yes. And I did a road trip actually across country in the States and back. And on the way from California to the East Coast, I ended up taking with me somebody from Craigslist.
Wow.
That I met once before the trip.
Wow.
And a complete stranger. And other people were like, that's kind of crazy. Like, we hope you don't get killed. And it's like, I'm not worried.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And we became good friends.
Yeah, of course.
So just gotta say yes. And I'm sure a lot of people are scared. And I've never been somebody who's fearful of things. Like, I'm not fearful of the pandemic. I'm not fearful of, I moved to Mexico when swine flu was going like crazy.
Wow.
Right
Wow.
now, coming from Mexico, right? So I just never been scared of anything except for spiders. Terrified of spiders. That's about it.
So you wouldn't take a spider on the trip with you across America?
Yeah, definitely not. No. But other than that, no, people I don't know what, there's so much fear in this world.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, okay, sure, maybe you are worried he might try to sell something to you. Get to that when you get to that, though.
Yeah.
Right? And you can usually tell when somebody's about something to sell you or if they just want to go to lunch.
Yeah.
Like, those would be
Totally.
framed slightly different.
Totally. Do you feel your voice is heard in the world?
I feel like I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, giving you a moment to share that voice now with a world that's listening to you through this platform, what's one thing you'd like to say to people?
Don't get stuck. And if you're stuck, try to figure out a way out, because there's always a way out. I remember when I lived in Mexico, people would say to me, tourists that would come on vacation would say, oh my God, how did you do it? How did you do this? And I said, oh, it was like the easiest thing I've ever done. I booked a ticket and I packed a bag and I came here. I had nowhere to, like, I was staying at a hostel. I had no real plans of what I was going to do, where I was going to stay, but I just did it. Hey, if things don't work out, you can always go home. And the same thing went for when I quit my job to take on training and do this whole world. I quit my income to have zero income. I had no clients, and my parents thought it was slightly risky. And I said, hey, there's another bar around the corner if I need one, but I'm not looking at that. And I just did it. So just do it. Stop getting stuck.
Yeah.
And you'll be so much happier for it. You know, you
Yeah.
don't need to live an extravagant life. Part of why this works for me is because I don't need to spend all this money on clothes and fancy lunches and nails and hair and all that stuff. I can live a simple life and be okay with the small amount of income that I make until I get more and more and more.
Yeah.
And even when I say I made $1 billion, I don't think anything else would change with my buying fancy things and all that. You know, maybe slightly, but not.
Right. Right. So really what I hear you saying is there are choices that we're making that are keeping us where we are, or opening up new opportunities for us.
Yeah.
And for people, this is such a good time with all the things that are going on, with the race protests and with COVID-19 and with all the isolation that people are going through. Why not take a moment and look at some of the choices you're making that have kept you where you are? And do you feel stuck? And if you feel stuck, what would it take for you to take a risk and make another choice? What would that look like? How could you do that? Could you do that? Zoe is doing it. And I'm sure part of her process of what she's doing with people is that she is helping people not only in health and fitness, but helping people in some of the choices they make that allows a sustainable process of health and fitness to happen. So I'm gonna volunteer her for something that we haven't, that I don't even know her well enough to do. But I'm gonna volunteer her for, if you feel stuck in any portion of your life, why don't you reach out to her and see what it would take to work with her, to be with her, to sort of get her counsel, to do some things with her that might just get you unstuck. Like, so that's one big risk. If you feel drawn to her from the conversation that we've had, reach out. That's what this is all about. What I loved in one of the conversations that I had is a woman who was really capable, really good, had found the job of her dreams, and then someone in her company, in the company she was working with, got COVID-19, and the people that were running the company didn't tell people for 2 weeks, or 10 days, or a week, whatever it was. And she said, I don't want to work for a company like that. Like, I don't want to work in a company where they wouldn't tell us that someone we're working with has it and could be spreading it to us. And so she left. And she was unemployed and looking for employment. And I said, why not use this community that we're creating now of strangers, a community of strangers, to reach out to strangers and say, hey, I need help, and I like what I heard and what you said. And why not look out and see if we can give people employment? Why not just come together? Because there's stranger things than this that have happened. Stranger things from strangers could never be more strange. But maybe we can all help each other and build each other's businesses, build each other's life, build each other up. And so I'm going to volunteer Zoe for you. And she can always say, no, I don't want to do that. But at least reach out to her and see what happens. And there will be a charge for it, undoubtedly. Okay, so I'm not volunteering her free services. I'm volunteering that you talk to her about working with her. How would they get in touch with you, Zoe, if they wanted to get in touch with you? And will you please also send me a headshot and send me your website URL and your social media links when we get off of this conversation? Will you just send it over, because I'm going to post these up pretty quick?
Yeah, of course. I am the most active on Facebook. So you can find me on there. It's facebook.com/zoe.stern.7. And it's just ZOE for Zoe. And that's the best way to find me. Like I said, I'm most active on there. But I'll also link my email as well, where you can contact me, and I'll have that all linked with you at the bottom. So
Perfect.
if you don't, because not everybody has Facebook, so I understand that.
Yeah.
So either Facebook or email are the two best ways to get me.
Love it. Is there something that you would like to say to the world right now that you haven't said? I know we already gave you that opportunity, but is there, oftentimes there's one last thing that comes through. Is there anything that you still would like to say?
That you can pretty much do whatever you want, you know, and it's never too late. I've I've read amazing stories of people, real stories of people who have done amazing life changes, you know, in their late 30s, 40s, maybe even 50 years old, and they're completely overhauling their entire career path and everything. And no, it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of dedication, but nothing is easy that is really worth having.
Yeah.
So it's not too late, you know, and maybe it's changing your body or your home or whatever it is. It's not too late. And it's really gonna suck to just be stuck somewhere you don't like to be.
Love it. Love it. Zoe, I want to thank you for taking the risk to meet a stranger on a Zoom chat and for showing up so beautifully, so honestly, so vulnerably, and so real. What a treat to get to know you. And I hope that this won't be the end. I want to thank those of you who are listening for taking your time to share some of that time with us today, to meet a stranger as I'm meeting a stranger, to meet two strangers, because you're probably meeting me as well. And I'm a stranger. And I want to just thank all of you for this opportunity. And if I can do it, you can do it. Take the opportunity to reach out to someone you know or don't know and just say, hey, would you like to have a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
No agenda, no, you don't need to fight them. Like, just let them say what they want to say. There's no reason to get into discord or anything like that. Just listen to what another person has to say and see how you feel as a result of it. It's my honor to do that with you, and I thank you so much for showing up so beautifully.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. It's been great. I miss doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, so start it up again. I like if I could inspire you to start it up again and you inspire me to do it too. And let's have 50 and 50 and 50 and 50 and 100 conversations all around the world happening. Wouldn't that be a beautiful world we would live
I
in?
have miniature ones all the time. I'm always commenting or messaging random people on Facebook and just being like their cheerleader. You know,
Yeah,
if they did something cool or if something happened. And it's not like I'm looking for anything. I'm just
love it.
like, wow, like that's so cool what you just did. Like that's amazing. And like maybe they just say thanks, yeah, whatever. Or maybe we end up speaking further. It doesn't matter. That's not what I'm
Yeah,
looking for. It's
yeah,
just it's
yeah,
cool to see how much more strangers will cheer you on than the people that you're closest to.
yeah, yeah. That's a big thing for me that it's easy for me to love strangers and harder for me to love the people that are closest to me
Mm-hmm.
in some ways because I've experienced a lot of pain in my life. And so I'm scared of getting hurt.
Yeah.
And when you more and more and more now I'm surrendering that because really I want the people closest to me to be the ones that are the recipients of all of my love and to be the recipient of their love as well, not to hold them at bay. And so for those of you who are doing that, support me by doing it with me. Take a chance and let the people closest to you in a little bit further. What a beautiful conversation. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are listening, thank you again for listening. Share these with your friends. Hopefully, it will inspire the world to start to pick up the phone, to pick up, to go into Facebook, to go on social media and just say to people, hey, I'm here. Anybody want to talk? Or I would love to talk with you, or I would love to have a conversation, or blah, 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 whatever it is. And just take a few minutes to get to know somebody. Thank you so very much. Until next time.
Yes.
Ciao.